Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're gonna be making one of my favorite things, but I haven't made it in a while. It is cheesecake. I haven't figured out what flavor yet, but we're gonna get the base going because that is the fundamental of any cheesecake you're gonna make. Quick shout out, we're at Sorrentinos. Cannot thank them enough for giving us this space to host this show. This is a much more professional setting than we could possibly do at home. So thank you so much, Sorrentinos. And if you're in the Edmonton area, check out one of the locations. They cook a lot better than I do. Don't tell the chef that because we got challenges coming. So what we got here is, let's be honest, the fundamental of any cheesecake is making a perfect crust. I see so many people complicating things, trying to make crusts here or there, fancying it up, and they end up ruining their process. So I'm just gonna go through what we're gonna need to make the proper crust. So obviously not the eggs, that's later for the cheesecake. But starting over here, you need to melt your butter. For the recipe I'm making, this is 1/3 cup of butter. I like to brown it when I cook it, not just melt it, I like to brown it. And I use lightly salted butter, so I don't have to add the salt to the mix. There's no way to make a mistake there. Over here, there's 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. I like to use organic coconut sugar. Like, it's not going to change the color. It's already a lighter, a light brown. But for me, it's not as sweet, but it's a really nice product. Here we have 1 3/4 cup graham cracker crumbs. Make sure it's fairly fine. You can buy it, and it's usually fine enough as it is. If you don't think that it's fine enough for your taste, throw it in the food processor. So that's basically it. What we might do here, though, even though I said let's not overcomplicate it, let's overcomplicate it a little bit. And only because these were on the counter. You support your Girl Guides and all that. These are those little mint cookies. So you know what? I'm thinking, after we get this in, I'm gonna see how the mixture is. And then I'm gonna see if I wanna add some mint chocolate into the base. Let's kick it over here real quick. For those of you who don't know what this setup is, this is going to be for a water bath. The point of a water bath is because two things. It's going to keep everything humid so you don't dry out the top prematurely while you're cooking, and it creates, like, if you just had your springform pan in the oven, that hot air can be right against the side, and it gets really hot here while it's still cooler in the center. You'll get a more even cook if you place it into a submerge into a basin with hot water as well, which is why over here we're warming up a pot of water. That'll be around it. And then, as you can tell, the reason I've wrapped it in foil is so water doesn't get in through here and give you a soggy crust. Simple. So we're going to use this is a standard 9-inch pan. Let's get mixing up the ingredients. So I know a lot of people like to use a fork and roll it around and flake it up. I like using these. We're gonna make a mess, but I told you that back when we started doing these shows. We're always gonna make a mess. So in goes your graham crumbs. In goes your granulated sugar. I told you this isn't fancy. In goes your butter. Now, the one thing I will say is, if you're going to use your hands, make sure this didn't just come off a really, really hot flame, because you don't want to burn yourself. So what you can do, even if you're going to use your hands like I'm going to do, is you can start by just incorporating it like this, and that'll cool it down. See, and it mixes in really quickly, and then it's cool. So then you just, and don't crush it, don't compress it. That's what makes those crusts that, maybe a little too hard. But see, you can tell when you're going to have a good crust, because it turns into, like, think of being on a nice warm beach. You're chilling, you're relaxing, you got your margarita. Foreshadowing for a future episode. But when you step on that just slightly wet sand, and it does that, there you go. That is a perfect crust. All right. So I'm gonna ask cameraman Mac, and he can wave the camera yes or no. Are we putting in mint chocolate cookie? All right, so this one's on him if it goes bad. I've never done this before, but it doesn't mean it won't work. So obviously you don't want any really, if you're surprising somebody with what's in a cheesecake, you don't want a big lump. And as you can see, it actually doesn't take a lot. You know, you break them up, but as you can see, it's already spreading out well in there. So maybe I'll add one more cookie. So that's 2. The ladies here at Sorrentinos are bringing us a cappuccino, so I know what the other 3 cookies are going to be for. Not sure if I'm going to share it with cameraman Mac, but you know, there we go. Thought I was stronger than this. You might want to get like a meat tenderizer and break them up a bit. If these can be a little tough, I see. There we go. But for the most part, there you go. And if you can run your fingers through, if you find, you know, you find a piece that's maybe a little too big, just roll it through your fingers, break it up. But that is literally how simple a good crust can be. Just checking for any more pieces. That's 1. Otherwise, that's beautiful. We're back and we're clean. Just in time to get dirty again. So I'm going to move this out of the way, not really needed. Now, so the water bath is for the cheesecake filling portion. This is strictly to get the crust nice and set. So, and you don't have to use all of it. If you go based on how much crust you like on yours. I like it fairly healthy so it holds together. Some people just like a dusting. Other people like to put it in layers. But this recipe is actually enough for a standard base, but on a 10-inch pan. So if you have some left over and you're using a 9, that's normal, unless you want a thicker crust. So I'm just going to sprinkle it in. You know what, I'm going to use all of it. So really, this would have been enough. But I'm using a little extra filling, so I'm also going to use extra crust to give it a nice tall, you know, a nice tall profile. So this is what would have been left. I'm just going to sprinkle it all in. Now, for this, you can just move it around. Make sure you get it into the corners nice. And then some people, you know, they like to press it down with their hands. I'll be honest. While I like to play with my hands and stuff like that, I like uniformity. Get yourself something with a relatively flat bottom and a nice curved profile on the edge. And just work it around. And I'm not pushing hard. Not at all. This is just enough, as you can see, to compress it. Because when you throw it in the oven next, I like to throw mine in for 10-12 minutes to just set the crust. So I usually go around twice. Okay, and I'm going to leave the center not pressed, just so you see how little I do press it. I don't know if cameraman Mac can get in there, but as you can see, it's only that much of a profile as far as how much I compressed it. So then this just presses out. There you go. And in less than a minute, you've got a nice uniform. I mean, you could clean it up around the edges to make it perfect, but you're making 12 slices at, well, 6 if it's for me, let's be honest. But if you have guests and you like them, you can get 12 friends. Well, 11 friends and you. I talk a lot. So, now, like I said, the water bath is that when the filling goes in, but let's walk over to this beautiful commercial oven that we have here at Sorrentinos. Look at these, look at these. Beautiful. All right. So we are at 375. I can set a timer for, let's split the difference. We're gonna go with 11 minutes because like I said, I used enough for a 10-inch pan in a 9, slightly thicker. So what we're gonna do here is set it for 11 minutes. Come and look. If I like the way that it looks, I'll take it out. If I don't, I'll leave it in for another minute. All right, so I'm not even man enough to go in there without one of these. So, and they actually got them in my size. It's nice. So I'm actually quite happy with this. Got just a bit of browning. Look at that. That I like. That I like. I'm gonna leave it here to cool off.
I don't usually comment on our videos, but that smells fantastic.
That's the point.